Okay, so welcome again to those who are just joining us. This is your frequently asked questions. So we're going through a selection of the questions that do come up from time to time through our face-to-face conversations, through our support channels, and so on. Yeah, we will be going through as many of them as we can, and then a bit of time at the end, hopefully, to go through some of yours. As I say, for those people that are just joining us, do go ahead and ask any questions you might have in the chat as well.
If we also get enough new questions that come through in the chat, we're very happy to do another one of these again. So if something comes up, maybe even after the event, feel free to jot it down and send it to us as a question that you would find useful to be answered in a subsequent masterclass.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steph. Okay, so to start us off, we've been inundated with a question from Mrs. Trellis from South Wales, who asks, how do I get started setting up a good CRM? Okay, and so this is, I'm starting with this one. It's a fairly big one. It's not one that I'm necessarily going to be able to answer fully in this session, but I hope I'm able to give you a few pointers in the right direction. If you are new to the CRM, you're getting it set up, or maybe you are maybe reorganizing the CRM and just want to understand a bit about how to approach things. Okay, so I suppose that this there are a few things to consider here, and one is the what. What are you going to record within your CRM? And what we say about that is that let your outputs inform your inputs. And so by inputs, we're talking about the custom fields that you're going to create, the data that you're going to store in your system. And when we're talking about your outputs, we're talking about things like your reports, maybe your segments that you want to create within the CRM. And lots of people need to use the CRM to run reports. And quite often thinking about those outputs, thinking about the information that you might want to get out of your CRM is a great way to inform the data that you need to capture in your CRM. You can't report on the number of engagements you've had with your participants, for example, if you don't store participant engagement information in your CRM. So start from where you want to end up. That will guide you to the granularity of data that you might need. Choose your custom field types wisely. So when we talk about those inputs and we're talking about creating a place for all of your data to live, you have some choices to make along the way. So this is kind of the how, I suppose. How do we structure the CRM in order to accommodate that data? And one of the aspects there is going to be those custom field types. You will probably, if you're familiar with the CRM, you'll know that there are things like text fields, and there are drop-down lists, and there are checkboxes, and all that kind of thing. So when we're, again, thinking about those outputs, one of the things we might want to do is see on screen in the CRM information about our people, about how people have answered particular questions, and that kind of thing. And certain field types in the CRM give us more visibility of data. And so in particular, we've got a little image here where we can see percentages about how people have answered questions, yes or no, how many people have checked a box, and how many people have, or we're looking at numbers and looking at totals and averages. So for this kind of first type of question here, where we can see options and see how people have chosen those, we're going to be looking for custom fields that are of some sort of list type. So it's going to be a drop-down list, or a multi-select list, or a checklist, or a radio list. It's going to be one of those that mentions the word list in it, where you're giving people specific options to choose from. That is inherently quantifiable and easy for us to lay out in terms of numbers and statistics for you and break that down for you. So that's one thing to consider. Similar things that we can quantify in that way are going to be things like checkboxes. So how many people checked that checkbox. Also tags. So we've recently added statistical breakdown of tags. So if you tag a person by their contact type, or you tag an event by it's themes, that kind of thing, then when we're looking at any kind of statistics view or aggregated data view, we're going to see across the data you're looking at what percentages and numbers are related to the tags that those things have been given. So yeah, choose your custom fields wisely based on the information you want to get out. And this obviously applies to some sort of data and not necessarily other data. Okay, third point that I'm making here is connections. Anyone who's spent any time with me ever in a demo, on training, in the pub will know that I only ever talk about connection fields and how useful they are. They are incredibly powerful within the system. There is often an over-reliance on tags in the CRM. Tags are incredibly useful, don't get me wrong, I use them all the time. But often people will say, oh, well, we must tag that this person was a participant in 2022 and a participant in 2023 and that kind of thing. Well, actually, let's represent that participation in the CRM. Let's put those events in our events section. Let's connect those people to those events as participants. Let's connect the person that led those event sessions and the organizations that funded or contributed to those projects. And let's use connection fields in the CRM to do that. Why? Because tags are a bit one-dimensional. You do have to know right from the point you're setting up the CRM how those outputs are going to look. And although that I've said that's a great way to inform your inputs, the fact is you're going to need things in the future from your CRM that you haven't thought of in the first instance. And those connections give you real flexibility in terms of producing segments and reports and that kind of thing. So connected data, connecting things together, modeling what's going on in your real world, as opposed to over-relying on tags, is a top recommendation from me. Okay, the next one's define your processes. So we've talked about what data we want to store in order to give us the outputs that we need. We've talked about how we're going to, which formats we're going to store those data in order to get the outputs in the format we require. We've talked about connecting our data together. We need to think about how we collect that data over time as well. What are the processes by which we're going to have the CRM support our data capture in order to get the information that we need out? So how do we embed the use of the CRM within our organization? How do we ensure that whatever we're doing in our organization is reflected in the CRM sufficiently that we get the data from it that we need and unlock all of that valuable information about our organization, our contacts, our relationships? So define your processes and specifically with regards to how that's going to work within the CRM. It's worth saying that we can help you to embed processes in the CRM in a more bespoke way as well. So if that's something of interest, do let us know. And that kind of leads me into the final point here, which is lean on us. Make use of us as a resource when you are setting up your CRM, when you have questions about how to structure things. Do that by attending the training. Remember, it's always available throughout the lifetime of your contract with us, not just at the beginning, but as long as you're using GoodCRM, you are able to access the training. So do come along to that. Do make use of our surgeries. Every month we have one-to-one slots where a CRM expert or me will be able to sit down with you and talk through any conundrums you have and help you fathom out how this should all look. Make use of our community. Ask questions, see what other people are doing. Use our tech support, ask our help desk if you're stuck with anything in particular. So really do lean on us. And it's worth saying as well, hopefully Steph won't tell me off for saying this, we are looking to recruit a head of customer success whose remit really will be to make sure that everybody is getting the best possible value out of their CRM. And so we're going to be starting to offer a bit more of a hand-holding service in the future where we're able to support you with creating a blueprint for your CRM and help you with implementation. So if that's something that is of interest to you, do get in touch. But however you lean on us, make sure you're using all of the resources available to you. as you're setting your CRM up. Okay, so that was quite a big one. It was quite discursive. I am going to get into the CRM and show you some practical examples as we go on. So let's start with one of those right now. I imported some data incorrectly. Can I delete it? This example is going to look at deleting data en masse, not just because you've imported it correctly, but this is quite often the frequently asked question that we have. So I'm going to talk to you about how we can delete data in the CRM in bulk. And I'm going to go ahead and share a different screen. Just bear with me. Okay, and so hopefully now we should be able to see the CRM. And I'm going to go ahead and look at how this might work. So I'm going to go, actually, I'm so used to going to tools and settings. We have put segments right front and center on the main menu now. So we can use the segments button to get to our segments. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to imagine that I've just uploaded some data and I've maybe there's some kind of mistake with it. And I want to zone in on that data to correct it. And actually, let's go ahead and import some data right now so that we have some nice fresh data to zone in on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to upload some people here. We all love a live demo, don't we? And I'm not going to bother connecting everything together. I can see there's enough here for our example. I'm going to go ahead and import these people. Oh, it was a mistake. I should have connected them to their organization thinking about it. What can I do? Well, maybe I'll delete them and then I can re-import them. So now I'll go off to my segments tool and I'm going to add a new segment. And I'm going to call this for deletion or something like that. And I'm going to choose people. It was people that I just uploaded. So it's those people that I want to target with my segment. Okay, so I'm going to add criteria to my segment. And in my list of custom fields here, I'm going to start searching for the created field. So the created field is a date field, and it's the date that this record was created in the CRM. And because I've just done this, I'm just going to say is after, but maybe if this was something that you were, you'd done a few days ago or a few hours ago, I might use in between so I can be really specific with the date and time that that creation happened. As this is just now, I'm going to go ahead and say is after. And with our date field here, we're going to get some real specificity. So I'm going to choose today's date, the 27th of September, but because this created field also contains the time of creation, as I say, we can really narrow down. And so I'm going to say it was created after 11, and then I'm going to say after 11:40. So it's 11:45 now. So this should show us those people that I've just uploaded. Let's click on the results and see. And here those people are. Now, you could give yourself some extra wiggle room if you are doing a particularly complex or large upload and you're a bit unsure. Go ahead and add a field there that tags everybody in that upload as being uploaded on a particular date, because that makes this segmentation even easier. You don't just have to use that created date, which could potentially capture some other things that happen to be created at the same time, so you need to be careful of that. You could do it based on that tag that you've added to this particular upload. You can always delete that tag from the system once that upload has all gone off correctly. But anyway, either way, we're going to have the people that we've uploaded here. And I'm going to come to my bulk actions here, and I'm going to click on my permanently delete all, and that's going to go ahead and delete all the people on this segment for me. It is permanent, so I can't recover that. So do make sure you're happy that the data you're seeing on the list makes sense. Make sure that the number of results that are showing on your segment match the data that you uploaded. That's the first thing to check. Okay. So I hope that's nice and clear. Any follow-up questions on any of these, do feel free to put them in the chat. And Steph, if anything pertinent comes up, do let me know.
Yeah, we've had a question about memberships. So I don't know if you will have time to cover that today or if that's...
Let's see how we get on. Hopefully we'll have some time at the end. And if not, I'll definitely try to follow up with anybody individually as well, or publish some answers after the fact. Okay, wonderful. So that's about bulk deleting data. The next question is about viewing data, and this is one that comes up quite often. It feels almost like this is a bit of a hidden feature, which it isn't supposed to be. Just bear with me. Just going to mute everybody. There we are. Okay, so how do I change the order in which custom fields are displayed, or how do I change the order in which custom fields display? This is something we're asked quite frequently, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by this. Let me go ahead, switch back to the system here. And let's go and have a look at somebody in the system. So let's go to our people section, and let's have a look for Devon. Where are you, Devon? There you are. Or was it? Maddie should work. Let's have a look. Okay, yeah, Maddie will work. So we've got some good information about Maddie here. So there are some fields in GoodCRM where we don't have as much control. So our picture, name, where somebody works, tags, some basic core contact information is all laid out at the top here. But then we have all of the custom fields that we've maybe added to this person's profile. So we can change the order in which these display. So at the moment, you'll see that on Maddie's profile here, we've got our age range first, then our biography, then our marketing opt-in, and then our contact owner, and so on and so forth. So some people will go ahead and edit their forms and change the order that fields sit in a form, and then they can't understand why it doesn't change the display here. And that's because, as you might know, you can have multiple forms that edit people. And so there's no one of those forms that determines the order that data gets displayed in. That's set somewhere else. And I'll show you exactly how we do that now. So what I'm going to attempt to do is bring our contact owner field up above our age range field, so that displays at the top here. So to do that, I'm going to come to my tools and settings. Let me just go ahead and open this in a new tab so that we can come back. So I'm in my tools and settings section. I'm going to come to my custom fields section. I'm already in people custom fields, but if we wanted to change the order for fields in records or organizations or any other data type, we can come and change that over at the top left. And here we have a list of our custom fields. And as you can see, the order in which these display match what we saw when we were viewing that profile. So I'm going to go ahead and use these little controls over on the right-hand side to grab our contact owner field and move it above our age range field. And now if I go back to Maddie's profile here and do a quick refresh, when that loads, we can now see that that contact owner appears above our age range. So that's how we can change the order in which fields are displayed in. That's particularly useful in records as well. Yeah, you can use that across your system wherever you want to. So I hope that's really useful. Okay, we're going to talk about record forms for a little bit now. We've got a few different things to discuss in the record forms section. So how do I export record form responses, first of all? Okay, well, this is quite a simple one as well. And I think that sometimes, because record forms kind of live in their own little part of the system, people forget that you can access them in other parts of the system, like any other data, like people and organizations, and particularly in the segments tool and the uploads tool and things like that, we can access these. So how do I export record form responses? Well, we're going to use a segment, which is how we export any kind of data from the system. So let me again switch back over to the CRM here, and I'll show you an example. So I'm going to come to my segments tool, and I'm going to add a new segment. And I'm just going to give it a name, example, record form export, for example. Okay. And then I'm going to choose my data type. So records have their own data type called records, and there we go. We can select them, and we can click Save. Now, when we do that, we can add criteria, and that criteria is going to show us all of the different fields that are available in our record forms across all of our different forms. One of the key fields that you might be interested in here, which is a special field, is the record form itself. So if I search for record form, you can see we get this option at the bottom, and I'm going to choose that. So I'm saying searching for records where the record form has any of, and I can choose multiple forms that I can export from at any one time. But in this case, maybe I'm interested in my event feedback information. So when I look at my results now, I'm going to see all of the record responses that we have within that particular form, our event feedback form, and I can go ahead and click the Export tab to export those data as spreadsheets. So just like any other part of the system, you can use the segments tool to export data, but for some reason I think some people struggle because, again, it's got its own section, record forms, to realize that segments will interact with records just like any other type of data in the system. Okay, so I hope that that one is very useful too. We're going to stick with records for a little while, so let's have a look at our next frequently asked question. How do I delete record forms? We have covered this on another webinar, but it does still crop up, and it's interesting. We do when you do get frequently asked questions cropping up all the time, often there is an action which is to make something clearer in the system so that people can do this intuitively without feeling they need to ask in support. We do deliberately make deleting record forms a little bit more complex because if you do delete a record form by mistake, you've kind of orphaned all of the responses that are within that record form, and you might not want that to happen. So it's perfectly possible to do it. Again, just like with segments, you do it just in the same way you do this with any other form, but you can't do it from the records section itself, which I think is what confuses some people. So how do we go ahead and delete a record form? Let's go back to our CRM to have a look. Okay, so first of all, if I go to the record form section, you can see I have lots of forms here, and we've got one here, this FOT demo form internal, that isn't needed anymore, and I can see it's not got any responses in it, so I'd like to delete that. And if I click into it, there actually isn't anywhere within the record section to delete this. So how do we do it? We come over to our tools and settings section, and we come to our forms section, and we can see our people forms here, but I can use this switcher at the top to switch over to our record forms. And as you can see, those record forms just display like any other forms in the system. And I can see that we've got our internal FOT demo record form that we no longer need. So I can go ahead and delete that from here. It will check that I'm sure I want to do this, and I'm going to say yes. Okay, and so now that form has been deleted, and if we go back to our record forms section, and we can use our little filter at the top here, we see that that internal version of the form is no longer there. So nice and simple, but one that does trip people up a little bit, so worth having a look at. Okay, so to end this section, and this is a bit of I've shoehorned this one in. How do I share forms other than record forms? So it's not actually a record forms question. This is more about sharing forms. So as you probably know, you can share record forms. So you can get a link that you can share, or you can get an embed code. You can embed these forms directly into a web page so that an external stakeholder can complete that form and that data comes into your CRM. So that's really useful. Lots of people use that. Lots of people find it incredibly useful. And we inevitably get asked, well, can I share a person form or an organization form or some other type of form within the platform? And the answer actually is no, but it isn't as simple as that. There isn't a way out of the box to share a form other than a record form. That's for various reasons, but there is a workaround. So we have the ability to create bespoke workflows which allow us to make any form shareable. So it is some bespoke work. There is a small cost involved in that, but it is something that is relatively inexpensive. So if you do need to share person form and organization form, that kind of thing, then we can build a workflow, and potentially that workflow can have more than just that form share step. It could be that you share a form, it then emails the person that's filled that in, thanking them, it emails a member of your staff to let them know, and then maybe it displays a thank you message, or maybe goes off to fill in a different form. So we can chain these workflows to do other things. So that's the only way to share forms other than record forms at the moment. So if that is something you need, do get in touch with us. There are some considerations around that. We don't have duplicate checking within those forms. So if you do share a person form and somebody fills it in several times, they're going to appear several times in your CRM, that kind of thing, which is one of the reasons we don't just allow this out of the box, because sometimes a bit of additional thought needs to go into those workflow processes.
I was just going to add, Tom, that I think it's worth doing if you're sort of doing a one-off process in bulk, where you're going to want to collect a lot of data from a lot of people in one go, but that might be like an annual thing, or like I said, a one-off event, essentially.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, Steph. And something else that I hadn't thought to mention, but I will mention now, is that there is also a way around this that some people might find useful, which is you could go ahead and share a record form that actually you're collecting details about people or about organizations in those record forms. That information will come into the system as record form responses, so they won't go into your people section or your organization section. But using the trick I just showed you with the segments tool, you can go ahead and export those records from your record form and then re-import them as people or organizations as well. So you do have an out-of-the-box solution there. It's a bit manual. And as Steph says, yeah, I think that if you're doing kind of big one-off, I want to invite everybody to add their details into the CRM, that kind of thing, then one of these shared forms could work really well via a little workflow. Okay. So that's record forms. Next up, we are looking at donations. I think we've got a couple around donations here. And one of the questions, this is a question I hope that you'll be able to extrapolate a few different questions from the answer to this one. So I'm saying, how do I find donors who've donated between specific dates? Now, the specific dates bit, you can swap that in for whatever criteria is interesting to you. But the principle of finding people based on their donation history is what we're looking at here. So in this case, how do I find donors who've donated between specific dates? Well, let's have a little look at that one. A lot of you will have guessed that the segments tool comes into play here. It absolutely does. So let's go ahead and look at that. Now, if anyone's seen me do training or looked at any of the existing webinars about record forms, you might be thinking here that there might need to be two segments, because if we want to find all the people that attended a particular set of events, we're going to use two segments for that. We're going to use one to find the events we're interested in, and we're going to use another to find the people that participated in those events. And you're right, it's absolutely the same with donors. What we're going to do is we're going to use one segment to find the donations we're interested in, and then we're going to find the people that donated to those donation campaigns through another segment. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to come to my segments tool. And as I say, first of all, I'm going to find the donations I'm interested in. So I'm going to add a new segment. And let's call this donations in 2023. Oops. And let's just make this more complex. I'll say over £5. Okay. And so we're going to choose what type of data we're interested in, which in this case, it's going to be donations. So we'll select that from our list here. And let's go ahead and configure this segment. So first of all, we want donations in 2023. So we're interested in the date that the donation was made. So we have our created date we could use, or we have our donation made date. I would suggest using the donation made date because although in most cases the donation record will have been added at the point the donation was made, if you've gone and added those donations in after the fact, then the created date might be the date you added it to the system. So let's use that donation made instead. So the donation was made, and I'm going to use after, again, if I was looking at last year, I might use it between. So I was saying between, the 1st of January 2022 and the 31st of December 2022. In fact, let's make this a future-proof segment. Let's do in between after all, because then it can stay in our system and it will still be accurate into 2024. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and choose the 1st of January. And we'll do this, we'll run this till the end of the year, so 31st of December. So that's going to give us our donations made between those dates. And we want ones that are over £5 as well. So I'm going to say, and I'm going to use our amount field. I'm going to choose is at least £5. So that means £5 and more, basically. Okay, so let's have a look at our donations. And we can see we've had a variety of donations in the system there. And next, what we want to do is we want to find the people that made those donations. Maybe we want to encourage them all to become regular donors or something like that. So we're going to come back to our segments tool. We're going to create a brand new segment. And we'll call this 2023 donors. I should probably put something in there about this being donors who've donated more than £5, but I'll leave it simple for now. So in this case, donors are people. So we're going to leave this as people. And we're going to add some criteria. And what we're looking for now is basically a connection field, which sit at the bottom of our list here. And you know that it's a connection field because it has this little arrow in. Hopefully you can see that there. And so what we're saying here is we're looking for the donor connected to donations. We could have typed in, if we started typing in something like donor in there, then that's going to thin our list and we're going to choose that option. And then we've got the option to say they're in a segment or they're not in a segment. So I'm going to choose the in segment option. And we're going to then choose our donations 2023 over £5 segment that we just created a moment ago. So what we're saying here is find me all the people that were donors in the donations within the segment donations 2023 over £5. And then we can have a look at the results there and we can see all the people responsible for those donations. We can even go one further and add some additional conditions in here. And maybe I want to only choose people who've opted in for marketing. So marketing opt-in, I'd like to receive your newsletter, is checked. It's a checkbox. And now our list will have thinned a little bit and these people are happy for us to get in touch. So that's how we find donors based on particular criteria to do with our donations.
Tom, I was just thinking that that's a useful example when just going right back to the beginning of the session when you were talking about trying to think about some of the things you'll need. And some of those donation criteria. So, for example, if I decided that all the people that donated over £5 in that time frame, actually, I'm going to invite them to an event because I'm going to start the kind of stewarding and cultivating process. But actually we're quite a local organisation and I know some people give that aren't local, so I need to therefore collect their address and then I'm only going to invite it's things like that. If you know you're going to want or need certain data to be able to then segment it in this way and use different lists, it was just a good example. Just separate to that, the question we had was actually very similar, but about memberships. So it was essentially a date range about looking for members who have subscriptions that are due to renew between certain dates.
Okay, sure.
Is
So
that in any way similar? The query is similar, it's just a different part of the system.
it does. It's in a different part of the system. It works in a similar way, but it's a little bit more specifically catered for. So on the membership dashboard, you've got lots of different reports there about people that have signed up, people that are lapsed or are due to renew, and that kind of thing, all of which can be you can put specific date ranges in to narrow down those reports. So yeah, I'll try and if we have time, have a look at that at the end of the session. But yeah, it's a similar principle behind the scenes.
Another quick question actually we've had is, what is the or button for when in the segments?
Okay. Okay, this is, I'm going off script now, so so bear with me, but I'm going to just get something out from our basic training that will take.
I was just trying to see if I can think of a quick example.
Oh, I've actually got a really nice specific demonstration of this, so just bear with me and I'll show you exactly what that or button's for. Okay. Okay, so this includes the or button, but this is just generally an overview of using segments. And we use this example here of a group of people, and these people have got some kind of identifier and identifying characteristics, and those are the custom fields that you store in your system. It might be people's age, gender, the things that they've attended, whatever it might be. We're representing all of those different attributes in our example here in what we call badges. So you can see that everybody is wearing a badge. Some people are wearing blue badges, some people are wearing yellow badges, some people have got VIP badges, and Mo has got both a yellow and a blue badge here. So we're using this, we're going to use those badges now to segment our data. So here's a really simple example of a segment: find people with a blue badge. And as you can see, everyone with a blue badge appears, including Mo, who's got a blue and a yellow badge. Now, if we say find people with a blue badge or a yellow badge, that's widening our net. So the or option widens our net. So we're saying find the people with a blue badge or a yellow badge, and therefore we get everyone that's got a blue badge, everyone's got a yellow badge, and we get Mo because Mo's got a blue and a yellow badge. Now, if we change the word or to and here, and narrows this down. So now we're saying find people that have got a blue badge and a yellow badge. Well, the only person that's got a blue badge and a yellow badge in our example here is Mo. So or will broaden things out, and will narrow things down. And we can go one further and we can actually group our criteria. So we could say find people that have got a blue badge and a yellow badge, which is going to be Mo. And that's in parenthesis. You can see there, it's in brackets. So it's basically saying, look at that as one thing. And then we're saying, or they've got a VIP badge. So that means we get Mo and the people that have got a VIP badge as well. So the or allows us to widen our net. It says, it's that thing, it's that criteria or that criteria. Let's get all of that. Whereas if we put and, it's that criteria and that criteria, then you're narrowing it down because people have to match all of the criteria. So I hope that answers the question and makes sense there.
I think some real world examples might be, again, you're maybe having an event and you want to invite some funders and some prospective donors. You might do the donation exercise that Tom just showed, where you're finding anyone that's given over £5, but you also want to invite maybe people who represent people who've already funded you. So maybe they're trusts and foundations or something like that, and they've already funded the project, and you want them all to kind of be invited to this event. Again, it's just an example of different types of people, but you're wanting to pull them all together.
That's right. And so by putting or in, we're saying it's people that match criteria 1 and criteria 2. We're saying either of those. As long as they match one of those criteria, then we invite them. Whereas if we used and, they'd have to both have, come to the events or whatever your first set of criteria was, Steph, and have been a funder, which really narrows down that list. So it's about widening it out. So yeah, great example. Okay then. So back to donations. This is kind of a bit of a little known feature that I wanted to draw attention to, and we do get asked from time to time about this for specific reasons. So how do I set up a fixed price donation link? So what we mean by that, if you've got the donations feature, there is a link generator that you can use to take somebody to check out for a predetermined amount and frequency. So for example, I want to take someone to a checkout for a £20 monthly donation. So you can configure a link to do that. Now, there are some times when you don't want somebody to be able to change the amount. So that checkout link will take you to checkout, but it will give them the option to change the amount. Sometimes it needs to be a fixed price. So we can do that within the system. And again, let me show you this in practice. So I'm going to go to my donation section here. I'm going to go to my campaigns. And I'm going to go to just any old campaign for now, just to show how this works. So typically you're going to have something like this, where you've got a donation campaign and it's configured, in this case, for one-off and monthly donations. So we get our little widget here, and people can choose to give once, give monthly, they can choose an amount, that kind of thing. And those links that I said we could generate are down here. So if I say I want a monthly donation for £20, I can come in here and say, okay, I want that monthly donation. Excuse me, my keyboard isn't working very well. There we go. Give me a link for that particular campaign. And if I go into a new tab here and paste that link in, we'll see that this is set up for a monthly donation of £20, but I could go ahead and click change to change that amount. Okay, so what if we don't want people to be able to change that amount? If my Zoom controls will get out of the way of my browser, I'll show you. Oh dear, right, we'll have to close some tabs, that will do it. Sorry, everybody, technical issues. Let's come back to our campaign here. Okay, so what we can do is we can use this direct payment links only option. And what that means is we no longer have a widget. We're not giving people the option to choose. We can create this donation link in exactly the same way. This only works off for one-off payments. But let's say we want a £20 one-off payment. We can now click get payment link. And when somebody clicks on that link, it will load up the same checkout again, but it's not going to allow us to change that amount now. And if somebody tries to change that in the URL, which people who know what they're doing might do, it won't work because we've got some security in here as well. So if you do want to have a checkout link that is for a set amount and can't be changed, then that's how you do it. You use this direct payment links only option. It's worth saying that this will affect your whole campaigns. You'll probably want to create a separate campaign to do this. Okay, so that's direct payment links. And I've got a little follow-on kind of bonus thing from that as well, which is one of those examples of a client who's used the system, who's bent the system out of what it was necessarily designed to do, but we thought we really liked it and thought it might be useful to share. So you can use these fixed price links in concert with our record forms, a shared record form. And the organization that I'm thinking of did this as part of an open call application process, where there was a fee to pay in order to be part of that process. So, we kind of spoke to them about this, and we talked about how we could put a workflow in place where somebody clicked on a link, they filled in their details, they filled in details about the piece of work that they wanted to submit, and then they paid a fee, and then it sent them a nice email and things like that. And they basically said, this sounds lovely, but we don't have the budget. Is there something we could do with the donation section? And we kind of worked out that if you create a donation campaign, on the thank you page of the donation campaign, you can redirect to a page on your website. And the idea there is that you've got full creative control of the thank you page, and people start off on your website and they end up on your website. So what this organization did was they created the fixed price links, because it was £5 or whatever it was to enter this application. And so they got all the information they wanted about their person in their donation form as part of that campaign. And then instead of redirecting to a thank you page, they redirected to a shared record form. So the person comes in, they fill in their details, they put their payment in, they press go. And once we've taken the payment, we send them off to fill in the rest of the details for their application. Now, it's not perfect. The person wasn't connected to their application in the record form, and we can't provide any guarantees that they wouldn't get around the fee and that kind of thing. But actually, we thought it was very ingenuitive to use things in this way. So a little hack that you can use maybe if you're in that similar situation.
Yeah, so it's sort of thinking of things like, we've called them donations, we've called them memberships, you know, we call them people, we call them organizations. But actually, if you try and think of them as like a financial transaction and a redirect to a website and a form, you can kind of start piecing together different use cases for your needs.
And you know, and it's worth saying that if you do use the system in ways it wasn't designed to work, it might not be ideal. So do make sure you're happy, and do feel free to run ideas past us in case there's any gotchas that we can think of. But yeah, it was definitely a nice kind of a nice way of using the system to achieve what they wanted to achieve. Okay. Just checking how we're doing for time. I think we're doing okay. So I've got a few around events now. And one of the things that I get asked most frequently about events is, how can I bulk add people as participants to an event? And we do have a tool for this, and you can use it not only to add people to an event, but you can actually use it to add people to all events within a project, which can be incredibly useful. Let's say you've got a series of workshops or something like that, and you want to add a person or a group of people to all of those workshops in one go, then you can do exactly that. So let's have a look at this in the system. Okay, so let's see if we've got a project that we can look at. So here is a project. This project has got, this is a program. This has got projects representing different terms. So we've got a summer term 2021, winter 2020, so on and so forth. So if for my summer term, if I have a look in here, actually it would help if I used one that had some events. Let's have a look at the one with an event here. We've got these 4 different events. We've got test event 1, test event 2, and we've got this zooming towards Christmas. So what if I go into one of these events? I can add one participant to my register here very easily. I can just go ahead and search for people that I want to add to my list here. So that's nice and simple. They're now added to my participant list. If I come to my bulk add and remove participants option at the top here, I can do the same thing with individuals. So I could go ahead and choose some people from the list here. But also we can do this in bulk using segments. So this is going to give us a list of all of the segments to do with people. And going back to what Steph was saying when we were talking about the segments, maybe you have got a fundraising event and you want to invite people that have made a donation over £5 in the last year, but also you want to invite your partners from funding organizations as well. So you get all of those people into your segment, and then you can go ahead and choose them on the list here, and you can add those people in bulk. So everybody within this segment will be added. It's worth saying you can also remove participants in this way as well. So if you've got, if you've got a group, a youth theatre group that is being run that meets every month of the year, so you've got 12 different events, and one person drops out, they're not going to be at any of the future events. Rather than going into each individual event, you can remove them. Actually, we'll come to the project level removal tool for that, but this would allow you to remove entire segments from this particular event. I'm going to go ahead and process these. So this will add these people who've donated to this event as participants. Everybody that was on there, and you can see we've got 4 people have now been added. Okay, so that's a specific event. Let's take one step up and we'll go to the project that those events sit in. And this is where this gets really useful. This is where we can add people to all of the events within this project. And it works in pretty much the same way. We can do this with individuals. We can do this with segments. So if I wanted to add somebody to all of these particular, all of the events within this project, I can select them. And again, also, if I wanted to remove individuals from all of these events, I can do the same thing there. And again, when I go ahead and process this, it's going to go ahead and do that across all of the events. I realized I clicked on the wrong button there and I was doing that to the event again, but it's the same segment. Here we go. This is live TV, folks. So we can bulk add to all these things. There is an extra feature here as well. We can actually limit that to a particular date range for these events if we wanted to. And this is where we would bulk remove. The point still stands. Very easy to, as long as you can collect people together in a segment or you want to select people, very easy to bulk add them to a specific event or a list of events within a project. So hopefully that answers the question, even if not eloquently. Okay, so that's bulk adding participants. Okay, next under events, or the final thing under events, this is a slightly cheeky one. That's a bit of a plug, but it's something that we are hearing from a lot of people at the moment. So people are saying, people particularly who are using Eventbrite, are saying to us that Eventbrite is starting to charge, and this is for free events. So free events that don't cost money to join, in the past have always been free of charge for tickets. Not the case anymore, and you might know that you register for this event using Eventbrite, and that might change in the future. So is there an alternative? Well, there are lots of alternatives out there, and I'm sure you're aware of some of them. And we, in particular, like an organization called Ticket Tailor, who are a really good company who are out to do good in the world, as we are. And we are working on an integration with Ticket Tailor, which is in its final stages and is likely to go live very soon. And so that's a potential alternative. Whether they will follow suit and start charging for free events as well, I'm not sure, but at the moment they do not. The reason this is a bit of a cheeky plug is because we are working on a feature directly within the CRM itself, which is going live with a particular client in its newest form. Next week, we have a pilot version of that that's gone live in the past as well. So there will be the ability in the future to have a person to buy tickets for themselves, or indeed a parent maybe, or guardian buying tickets for young people who can come into a portal, who are able to register their own details. They're able to register details of other people, maybe young people that are going to be attending a set of events, that will then be able to be added to your participant lists, whether that's a free event or whether that's charged for. We will support both sorts. So that is something coming soon. Do have a look out in your newsletters and our social for when that launches. There will be cost involved in that feature, but the thinking at the moment is that we are going to charge per ticket fees. So worth, when that comes out, just comparing and contrasting to see if that might be a good alternative to Eventbrite if this is your situation. Okay, so that is it for the main questions. We are almost at time, but Steph, are there any other burning questions that have come in on the chat?
No.
Okay.
We've covered the others.
I'll take a quick look at that membership section then.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'll be able to fully answer this, so it might be one that we want to pick up on the support chat, but I'll just give you a quick overview here that we do have all of these reports down at the bottom here. So we've got active members, pending members, lapsed, cancelled members. New members, the new and active are similar, but there's a slight distinction in the type of data that you get. And there are a few other reports in here. And all of these can be filtered by date range. So although this doesn't give you the same granularity as we were looking at with donations, where you could add as much criteria as you wanted to, if you're looking for active members that joined last month, for example, then we can come and put in last month's dates here. And our active members list here, which is a spreadsheet, will be filtered for people that joined between those dates. And again, we've got that reflected across different statuses as well. So you might need a combination of those reports depending what you're trying to do. So hopefully that's what I was talking about earlier in answer to that membership question. But if you need something more complex than that, then do feel free to reach out on the support chat as well, and we'll help with that.
Actually, Jules has asked, what is a tag?
What is a tag? Okay, so let's have a quick look at some people in our system here. And we can see that Henry here, he is tagged as a donor, a VIP, and a dog. So if we have a look at Henry's profile, we can see those tags appear up at the top left over here. There might also be tags elsewhere. So we can see that down in the main details of his profile, he donated to a particular campaign, and that's tagged as well. I think that's the only tags we've got there. And if we go ahead and edit Henry's profile, you can see that those person type tags are in this person type tag field at the top. So they're basically just labels. And in this case, we're going to label different types of contacts. And as you can see, we might have any number of those contact types, but we can also create as many different types of tag in the system as we want to. So if we want to tag somebody based on their interests or their skills, then we can go ahead and add new tags. So they're just labels effectively that we can add to people, to organizations, to events in order to categorize them. And we can then use those within segmentation. We can understand the makeup of our database in terms of the numbers behind tags and things like that as well. So if you're a bit unclear on that, do feel free to join our basic training that kind of goes through all of that kind of thing, how to create tags and tag fields and different types and that kind of thing. Okay.
That's it.
Okay,
unless
wonderful.
anyone else has any last questions for the last minute of the session.
Okay, well, that might be the end of the session then. So thank you ever so much for everybody for attending. We will be posting this up on our community, and we do have an archive on the community in the training section of all of our previous webinars as well that cover a wide variety of topics by this point. We will be doing more webinars in the future. We do welcome your feedback and input into what you'd like to be covered as well. So do feel free to make suggestions in the community on what we might cover in the future. Okay, thanks again, everybody. Thanks, Steph, for helping me out today. And yeah, we'll see you all in the future.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Have a great day.